Our rules are simple, but the challenge is great. No shoulder pets, tames that can be carried, or typical boss dinos allowed. That means no Rexes, Therazinos, or any other dinos people normally use in these fights. Equipped with official server cap saddles, our 19 contenders will be backed by the commanding presence of a loyal Uteranus providing that extra boost. All competitors will go into battle with food to provide a healing effect. Herbivores will have plenty of sweet veggie cakes, and carnivores and omnivores will have cooked meat. No Overseer, because the movement speed required to get through the tech cave then chase the Overseer during the fight would shorten our list by a lot. It's important to note that tames in this series aren't typically used during boss battles because of the amount of mutations it would take to make them competitive. I'll be applying around 23,000 health and 1200% melee through mutations and experience levels to all dinos that compete. This will give them all a fair shot at defeating at least one of the Guardians. It won't always be feasible to reach these stats depending on the dinos I'm using, but I will let you know the amount of mutations and levels it took in order to reach it. All competitors start out with 50 base health and melee and 40 points in everything else before I apply mutations and experience levels. Use this information and decide on your own servers if the juice is worth the squeeze. Competitors are required to fight the Megapithecus, Broodmother, then Dragon on all difficulties, starting with Gamma, then Beta, finishing with Alpha. Their success will be annotated on this scorecard with a pass or fail system. Now let's introduce our competitor and see if they have what it takes. Kapro, or Kapro for short, is a horrifying asshole that dwells in the swamps. Everyone remembers their first jump scare in Ark, and the Kapro was probably the cause of a lot of them. The Kapro is technically a crocodile, but we already had an undercroc, and these guys fly all over the place like toddlers on bath salts, so it's only right to call them undergators in honor of Florida, where toddlers on bath salts are from. The stats required for this competition were reached with 63 mutations and 80 experience levels. 38 mutations and 50 levels went into health, and 25 mutations and 30 levels went into melee. To celebrate my first YouTube members and my first patron, I present these 3 undergators to show my thanks for your support. Now let's see if they have what it takes. Green portal time means Gamma time, and the undergators are primed and ready to leap into the snowy domain of the Gamma Megapithecus. First impression, not that bad to be honest. They're attacking when in range and hits are actually registering. If you're new to the channel, watch some of the older, smaller creatures. There's some nasty bugs that prevent attacks from landing for a lot of the creatures in the boss fights. You're probably going to notice during this episode that the Kapros go flying all over the place when they do their leap attack. It's meant to grab smaller creatures and it doesn't deal damage when it connects, so it's pretty useless against the bosses. It actually gets us in a bit of trouble later, so stay tuned. For now though, that's an easy win and their first pass. The killer Kapros went flying into the Gamma Broodmother's face, and this actually made it pretty easy to keep her surrounded and help with mixing up the lot lizards. If you're not familiar with the Broodmother fight, she hits extremely hard, and her attack has a pretty wide cone. You want to make sure that she's surrounded so that she doesn't hit all of your tames at one time. Since Kapros are carnivores with a lower drag weight than the Uti, they don't take any aggro in any of the fights. We can usually cheese it a bit, but their collision box turned them into little ramps, so they're not blocking shit. This makes me pretty worried for the later fights because their damage output isn't enough to take out Mama Broods. But we'll see. Gamma Broods though, piece of cake. That's another easy pass. Gamma Dragon time. When you're using creatures that don't take aggro, it's actually pretty easy to beat the dragon on all difficulties. Just slide up under the pits like I did, turn sideways, and have your tames attack them from behind. Remember when I said that jumping all around would cause some issues later? You'll notice a few of them leaping around, and the problem that happens is they don't sit still and attack. They just keep leaping and wind up in front of the dragon. That means they get roasted by his toasty morning breath. Fried gator is no good in this situation. I don't know if you've ever had fried gator, but every time I've seen gator on a menu, it's fried. That usually means it's shitty food. It tastes like a really tender chicken and a catfish had a baby. And that baby was deep fried and served with hush puppies. The swamp puppies actually do a bang-up job and drop the dragon, earning another pass. The blue portal was fired up and the Florida house cats were ready to go. You see, the thing about these fights where your creatures don't take aggro, sometimes you just gotta tank it. If they can kill the boss faster than the boss can kill Commander Utes, then just stand tall and take it. I heard anyone born in Florida is given an ankle monitor before they leave the hospital. True or false? The Beta Megapithecus just can't hang with the awesome alligators. Commander Utes is a beast, and he eats all those fists while the undergators take him down, earning another pass. The Beta Broodmother is up next, and this is my favorite part about all these fights. I love watching them go flying on their first initial charge. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, you see. I really wish the leap attack dealt some high damage, but could you imagine getting one shot every time one of these douchebags caught you in the swamp? The increased speed of the Beta and Alpha bosses is always a challenge, and Commander Utes just can't tank the Beta Broodmother. She deals a ton of damage, and unfortunately Commander Utes gets slaughtered, and we have to transition to Gatorback. I'm actually surprised that the Kapro's attacks are landing considering how small the cone of attack is for them. They don't even get pushed around that much from the knockback, which is pretty awesome. The Kapros wind up battered and bruised, but they're victorious against the Beta Broodmother and earn themselves another pass. The Beta Dragon is up next, and I was mildly concerned considering how things went with the Gamma fight. They did win that fight, but things are different at this stage. The Dragon hits a lot harder, and his increased health pool means we'll have a lot more opportunities to take off. This fight was sloppy all around, and the Kapros were all over the damn place. The Beta Dragon took off a ton, and Commander Utes took one too many fire breaths, and I had to watch him burn to death, which has become some kind of morbid tradition. It's not like I look forward to it or anything, I'm not weird. So there I was, shirtless on an alligator fighting a dragon. Things get way worse when the dragon switches aggro from Kapro to Kapro. They keep jumping around and getting lit on fire, and we just start losing one after the other. I was able to get him down to under about a quarter of his health, but eventually I was the only one left. And the Beta Dragon let me know that he had no time for the Florida bullshit, put my ass into the dirt, handing the Kapros their first fails. Red portal time means alpha time, and the Alpha Megapithecus is up next. I thought about this one for a little bit, and I basically had to decide if I was going to attempt to tank it or try to get the monkey stuck. I did a little bit of both, but ultimately I felt like the Kapro's damage could outpace the Monkey Mafia's output. Commander Utes stood tall and absorbed everything that the Alpha Megapithecus fight threw at us. I've said it multiple times and I'll say it again, the Megapithecus needs a buff. I honestly wish they would redo all the boss fights and add a little bit more strategy to it so it's not just a one-dimensional fight. We'll talk about that next, but for now, the Florida Sukas performed fairly well and put the big man and his crew to sleep, earning a solid pass. The Alpha Broodmother is up next, and sorry folks, no sexy Broodmother talk today. What I wanted to talk about was the Broodmother fight from the animated series. Now, spoiler alert, go ahead and skip this or put it on mute because I'm going to talk a little bit about the series. Forget all the negative thoughts about the timing and whatnot, but look at how they beat her. Again, spoiler, how cool would it be to have to break open spider eggs or throw them at the Broodmother so that the Uranios climbed up on her to eat the delicious spider goo? Could you imagine her just covered in that sticky goo, getting chewed on? Anyway, the point is, besides the Overseer, these fights are so basic. Just send the pets in and roll. Look at the boss fights from other games. I mean, shit. I feel like I'm playing classic EverQuest with these boss fights. Speaking of, the 25th anniversary TLP comes out in May. I love me some EQ nostalgia. As expected, the Alpha Broodmother tore us a new one, capping the night off with a fail. Heading over to the scoreboard, the Undergators are awarded a bronze boom medal. If you're new to the channel, gold is for a full clear, silver is for clearing beta, bronze is for clearing gamma, and shit is for shit. If you haven't had the opportunity, I'd be honored to have you as a member or a patron. Discord will be up soon. I'm just waiting for work to calm down a bit so I have time to put everything together. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to help this community grow. I love interacting with everyone in the comments, so please feel free to hit me up with some feedback or suggestions. You can also reach out to me on any of the social media I have listed on my channel or in the description of this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.